Welcome everyone to the Drip G Podcast. I'm your host, Uncle G, and with me is host Drip Media Gaming and special guest Rudy from Baldy Rudy. We record this podcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You listen to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Drip, Rudy, how are you guys today?
Doing great. Fantastic, G.
Very good.
I second that. I am also fantastic. It is a beautiful day.
Good. Yes, it is the evening, and our new intro, which you didn't get to hear, Rudy, is very like upbeat and like fast paced and loud and energetic. So like I have to like I had to match that energy when the music is playing, and you guys meanwhile are listening to listening to nothing.
So we're like, hey man, yeah, it's cool, whatever.
So
it's a good day.
Yeah.
All good.
God, calm down, G. Why are you so hyped up?
Yeah. Funny story, that intro music was created by AI, by one of Drip's buddies.
Way.
Yeah,
I have it here. We'll listen to it in the after show. I have it here on my board.
Yeah. So Drip will play for you. Rudy, it's pretty crazy. Of course, I spliced it up a little bit, made it actually usable, but yeah, it's AI generated.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Surprisingly good.
Anyway, good to have you on the show, man. If you guys you check out the description of your podcast feed, you can find Rudy's links. But yeah, Rudy, how you doing today? I know that you're a big Nintendo fan, and you also your channel these days is a lot of handheld gaming PC stuff, which is perfect for tonight's conversation.
Hey, I'm good. Thank you. First off, thanks for having me. The channel itself has been like evolving, man. It started off with like Nintendo, and now like I've been kind of like doing PC handhelds, but also like retro emulators and all sorts of crazy things, man. But what its roots are in Nintendo. Like the first video that took off was actually talking about one of the topics that we're going to talk about today, which is the Nintendo Switch 2 or the next console or whatever the next iteration is. But it's exciting, man. I cannot wait to get my hands on it because I feel like this is going to be the next big thing for handhelds overall. Just like the Nintendo Switch like blew the competition out of the water. Yes, it has like older tech and whatnot, but in terms of like the experience that's delivered to people, like there's a reason why it's the highest selling console this generation, you know?
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the thing too about it. Back then, there wasn't a ton of competition, and the competition that was there was like, yeah, you can do it, but since then, yeah, you're right. Like the people have stepped it up, and it's going to be interesting to see where Nintendo takes it next. Because you're right. This is going to be the thing of all the things, whatever it is, just because of the way that Nintendo delivers their stuff. So it is going to be exciting. You're right.
For sure, man.
Quickly, Drip, we are the worst podcasters in the world. Can I tell you? Do you know what I'm about to say?
No!
You know.
No!
Yeah.
Yes! God, this is the fourth week in a row. How the fuck do we do this?
A month. This is an entire month, Rudy, where we have forgotten that we're giving away a $50 eShop gift card and have forgotten to pick a winner prior to the show. So we ask for your forgiveness, people, because my fiance like just a few days ago was like, you want me to pick a winner for you? I'm like, yes, please do that. And I don't think she did, because I don't think
I Abby, if you're listening, do it right now, please.
Yeah.
We're not going to announce it today, but we need to have one.
No, I have an idea, Drip. I have an idea. Here's what I'm going to do. She's right behind me. Abby, go look at the podcast feed and text me a winner, and randomly in the middle of the show, I'm just going to break out the winner of the gift card.
Okay, fine.
So she's looking as we speak. She'll do that while we're doing our thing. And we know we'll get to the rest of the episode, but we're going to do it because it's been a month and we're going to freaking do it.
Yeah, we do need to do it. We do need to do it. Okay.
And speaking of which, we have no new review, so that's a thing. So I don't have a review to read you guys, but just to remind you guys, we give away $50 eShop gift cards periodically. And obviously, we're supposed to give it away like a month ago, but we're giving it away now. But all the reviews that are in our feed, all of our 5-star reviews, are automatically entered to win whenever we restart that contest up. And for the next time, if you get your vote in now, your review in, it's going to count for the next future giveaway. So feel free to do that. Apple Podcast, leave a 5-star review, write whatever you want. Just make sure you can write negative. I don't care. You can write whatever you want as long as it's 5 stars. You can write Drip is a poo-poo head, and that is the review. But as long as it's 5 stars, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so we'll get to that. I think I just heard a chime. No, that wasn't her. I'm just going to be waiting. I'm going to be waiting for this thing. So we'll get the suspense, guys. The suspense for the winner of the gift card. In the meantime, make sure it's 10 likes in the stream. Yes, where is the winner? But yeah, no, Rudy. So What do you say? How do you say? What do you say? Nintendo plays on your channel. Let me rephrase this. Not like an idiot. How does Nintendo? What's the role of Nintendo on your channel as we speak? Like these days, because I know you do post a lot of like other things than Nintendo. So what would you say the role is now? Because you say the roots of it was Nintendo, but do you think that Nintendo plays a role at all right now?
I think so. You know, I actually had this conversation with my manager. Like, the way that I look at like my audience is I have people that are interested in like handheld PCs, like the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally X and all this and that. And then you have people that are interested in retro emulation. But I would say like 75-80% of those people, they all come from Nintendo. They all come from Nintendo Switch and the Switch OLED. And they're like, I have this, but I want something more at this point. I've had this for, over half a decade. I want to get something that will elevate my gameplay to the next chapter or to the next level. And that's really where that comes from. I started out pretty much, the first video was talking about the Splatoon 3 beta run where they were like doing the network tests to see how that could it was Splatoon 3. Yeah. And it was like, it was awesome. I loved it, but there were hiccups, and I went in and talked about that in the video. After that, I was talking about different things. I'm an equal opportunity gamer in that sense. Like, I've got all 3 consoles. Thankfully, I'm very grateful for that. And I also have all these handhelds from all of these different things. But to me, if somebody wants a complete package, I still push them towards Nintendo unless they want something more. So that's really where it comes down to, because I think that the user experience and the overall play experience that you get while gaming on the Nintendo Switch is just the best for somebody that doesn't want to tinker, doesn't want to bother with anything, and is okay with the form factor and the performance that you can expect from the Nintendo Switch. But even still, like, once that Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever the heck the next console is going to be called,
the Super Nintendo Switch, just so you know.
The Super Nintendo Switch?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you know this. We're actually leakers. So we have all the inside information. But that's what it's going to be called. Yeah. That's what it's going to be called.
That's funny because I always thought it was going to be called the Super Switch. So, like, I'm okay with that as well. Yeah. That's fine. But no, like, at the end of the day, dude, like, it's really just depends on where you want to game. And if people want to go to the Nintendo Switch, I'm all for it, man. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I got a Steam Deck, which I don't have anymore. Jeeve has my Steam Deck now.
Yes, I do.
And that was the reason I got one. Because it's like, dude, I love Nintendo. Like, but yeah, come on. It's time. It's been time. It's over. It's way past time to get something else. I mean, the views on my YouTube channel will tell you that. It's way past time. Not a lot of people are caring that much anymore. Even, the little bit of Zelda we got from Nintendo, that's great. I love that. Like, the little things they've been giving us. I mean, Mario Wonder was awesome. I mean, they're still keeping it going with some games, but it's time. It's old. It was old when it came out. Like, the technology was old when they put it out. And what, we're 8 years out now from that.
Yeah. So it's
still great. Yeah, it's still great. I mean, it's still great. And you can only get your Marios and Zeldas and Donkey Kongs in one place. Well, you're supposed to only be able to get them in one place. But, that's what Nintendo has. And I mean, God, I don't know. It's just the Joy-Cons, everything, the whole package, man. It's great. It is great. You're right. That's where you should be pushing people.
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I think we will. Because Jim and I did an episode recently where we kind of reminisced a little bit about the Switch and like what we liked about it, and we look forward to. And we said the new one. We look forward to the new one. Please, just give us the new one already. We love the OG, of course. That's why we're here. But give us the new one, please, Nintendo. I want to ask you 2 questions before we move on, Rudy. I'll ask you both at the same time. You can answer as you please. What is your favorite piece of tech of all time? And what is your favorite piece of tech recently?
Okay, I'll answer the second one first. Favorite piece of tech recently is the ROG Ally X. I actually have it right here. I went to Taiwan over the summer. So Asus, they reached out to me. They wanted me to go ahead and go over to talk to like their engineers and everything and provide them like feedback right then and there in terms of like what I thought of the ROG Ally X before it released and whatnot. But one of the biggest things that I learned while I was over there, I can't talk details, but it's kind of like they're actually listening in terms of like what we want as gamers from
That's
that handheld,
great.
which got
That's
me
awesome.
really excited for the future of like this handheld and like what we can see out of it. In terms of like my favorite piece of tech of all time, that's a heck of a loaded freaking question, man.
Yeah, sorry to just spur that on you. I just thought of
it's
it.
okay. It's okay. It's just like because off camera, like I have like a closet that I cleaned out and I took off the doors and I have like nothing but like games that are just sitting here and like I have all my consoles and stuff. If I were to pick like my favorite console like ever, I would probably say that might be like the GameCube, but in terms of like the best piece of tech ever, like if I were to pick one thing that isn't a PC, if that is not a PC, I would probably say like the 3DS.
Oh, okay.
Like the 3DS XL would probably be like my best because like it has such a huge library. There's so much that you can do with it, has so much functionality, and the games that are there can only be played really well there. Aside from like there's this, I don't know if you guys heard about it. There's like this handheld that is like a Windows PC that has 2 screens on
I've
it.
seen that.
Yes, that thing is awesome.
That it's super heavy. I can like kill somebody with this thing. But
it's like holding a brick.
Dude. But like, yeah, if I were to like look at like one thing, I would probably have to say like the 3DS XL. Like that'd be like my go-to if I only had one thing.
I didn't expect that. That's an interesting one. Of all the tech, you'd go 3DS, which that's not a knock. That's just I'm just interested. That's
no, it's okay. Yeah. It's just like, like if and that's not PC stuff.
Right.
So like if I were to include PC into it, I would pick a PC, man. Like there's so much that you can do with it. There's so much versatility with it. If I were to pick a handheld, like I would probably go with the Steam Deck just because of the price to performance ratio that's there. But my favorite right now is definitely the ROG Ally X by far. Yeah, by far. I when I was flying back to the United States recently, like I literally was just sitting there playing Elden Ring, playing like Dave the Diver, and playing Balatro. Dude, have you guys played Balatro? Do you guys like poker?
Our buddy John Ebo, he says that we should play Balatro, but like I don't. I've never played it.
Dude, if you like poker, it's like a roguelike mixed with like poker mixed with like kind of like almost an RPG element because you can like unlock different jokers that give you different abilities and stuff. Yeah. Just get ready. It's going to suck you in. It's going to take a lot of time. But it's fun, a lot of fun, and it's cheap. And you can run that at like, I don't know, like 5 watt TDP and like you're set. Nice. It's not like, it's a go-to. It's a go-to.
And to answer my own question there, Rudy, because I'm interested because you used to go 3DS, and honestly, I'm a big tech guy. I mean, before I was into like games like I am now, I was more of like just like a phone nerd. Like I used to, I mean, like during like the iPhone 4 days, those were like peak me as far as like loving tech. And all the tech that I've ever owned, just thinking about like, or even just not even owned, just in general, my favorite tech I've seen. I mean, Google Glass would be up there too. Like that's just a very interesting era where the Google Glass was a thing. Like, and the whole idea of it was amazing. And now we have everyone has Google Glass. It's just on their wrist now. It's a watch instead of on their glasses. But I think of all the things in the entire universe that I can think of tech-wise. And Jeff had a good one. Jeff Hardvania said light bulb. Light bulb is a very important.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I love light bulb. That's a good.
That's a very good one.
Yeah, it's an important one. You need light bulbs for everything. But for I think my favorite has to be the Switch. Honestly, just thinking about it.
You took my answer.
Well, it's okay, Drip. I mean, I figured you'd probably yours too. I mean,
oh yeah, it's for both things too. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, just the Switch, man. I love the Switch like so much. Yeah. And whenever the second one comes out, I'm sure I'm gonna love it too. But it's not.
What's your reasoning? I want to know what the reason is.
The impact on my life. I mean, just the impact it's had on my life. You know, it reinvigorated gaming for me. It also kickstarted some business stuff, some hobby stuff. I mean, all the above. Like the Switch is my favorite. It's just
I mean, I started my channel with the Switch. That's obviously a reason I like it so much. But the reason I think it's my favorite thing ever is because it's what I've always wanted. Like when I was a kid, and you know, I had a PSP playing those games. Like this would be cool, but I want that. I want that. What's on the TV here? Give me that here. And I never got it. Never got it. Even with 3DS and stuff, they came close, but it still wasn't like, that's not that. I want that. Yeah. The Switch was the first thing where it was literally like, take it from the TV, handheld. That's what same games. No matter, like, that is what I've wanted that my entire life. And finally, when I found out Nintendo was going to actually do that, Like that was it, man. That was it. I was so excited. Like finally.
Yeah.
And how is it Nintendo the one that's doing this? That's
I
like,
know.
like that doesn't make any sense. But that was it. Yeah, the Switch, and I mean even I don't know. The new one's probably going to take its place because it's just going to do everything the Switch does, but better.
Hopefully.
That's the hope. That's the hope.
Yeah, hopefully. What if it's it's just the same again?
Hey,
I mean,
it's gonna have a camera on it, and it's gonna
got
do
a
like
camera.
it's gonna do AR 3D stuff, and it'll
And an even bigger screen.
Yeah.
And a camera. Two
Yeah.
cameras, actually. Front and back.
Yeah,
Actually,
man,
a phone,
that's the
too.
thing.
and it'll be the Switch Plus. It's bigger.
Oh,
Yay.
dude, I'll die. I'll die right there. I'll die. I'll quit. My channel will be
8
done.
years in the
I will
making.
hit the
Are you guys
fucking
ready
delete
for 8
button
years of
right there?
The Switch Plus. It's
Yeah.
bigger.
It's bigger with 2 cameras, and you can get it at AT&T.
Yep. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I will literally hit the delete button on my channel that day.
Oh man, Drip and I, Rudy, Drip and I. Actually, it was last year. Drip and I had an episode where we kind of. It was kind of more my idea, but we kind of collectively kind of figured what this idea would be of the next Switch. Kind of a joke, but at the same time, something that I think we both wish would happen. And basically take the Wii U and what the Wii U was and make it not suck and make that the Switch 2. And also, big also, don't mess up the advertising and the branding like they did with the Wii U.
Good
That's the
Lord.
big one. But just make it basically the Wii U Pro and like give us that.
Right.
Not
That could work.
You interested in something like that?
That's the thing, man. Like when you look back at like the Wii U, I didn't buy a Wii U when it first came out. I actually bought a Wii U in like 2019, 2020, like right before everything like closed down. I think it was January of 2020.
Really?
And yeah, I wasn't interested in it. Like, and it's funny because one of my friends was all like, "Dude, like you gotta play it. Like Zombie U's amazing. Like, all this stuff is like coming out." And I'm just like, I don't know. Then I had a kid, and then all of a sudden, like that Nintendo magic kind of like opened up, and I was like, "Oh, like these are games that I can play with my kid, and I could actually, you know, share these experiences with him." So I bought a Wii U. But I remember when I was looking at reviews that a lot of people that were like, "Hey, this is the Wii U in 2020 or whatever, 2019." They were like, a lot of they essentially Nintendo tried to replicate that experience that you got with the 3DS or 2DS, or even the DS and DS Lite in a home environment. And although that was somewhat successfully done, the experience was kind of disjointed in some places, in some experiences. Star Fox being a prime example of that.
Yeah,
like having, you know, the cockpit in your hand, like in the gamepad, and then you looking up on screen and then looking down and looking up and looking down. And it's
too much.
It's different than having like literally like a screen cut in half in your hand that you can see everything with your peripheral vision.
Yeah.
So I think it would be really cool if they did do something like that and brought back that 2-screen design philosophy.
Yeah.
That's why I like the 3DS, man. I think it's probably one of the best handhelds out there in terms of like what you can do.
Spoiler alert for later in the episode. We're going to be talking about some of that because there's a rumor.
Yeah.
It might be a thing. But before we do that, G, we got to get to our sponsor.
Ooh, good segue, Drip. Today's sponsor is Mobipad. Drip, we both have tried a bunch of third-party Joy-Cons. I think we both can say that the Mobipad M6 HDs are the best we've used, hands down. I mean, from mechanical buttons to the HD Rumble, Amiibo support, they aren't lacking any features. None. They got it all. And more than that, Mobipad's other products, the Pro Controller alternative, the Chai 2, the Mobipad Nintendo Switch dock, the M6S, the cheaper alternative to the M6 HDs, they're all great products. Mobipad makes some really solid stuff. Drip, I can't think of one thing Mobipad makes that is lackluster.
It's all amazing. Like they have everything I've reviewed on my channel of theirs has been amazing. It was the controller first. I was like, wow, this is crazy. It's cheaper than the Pro Controller. It's got everything and more. You can even use Amiibos with it. No controller could do that at the time. Now they got Joy-Cons that do it. And honestly, these Joy-Cons are better than the ones that come with the Switch, in my opinion. And of all the big Joy-Cons I've tried, these are by far my favorite. They sit on the Switch tight. They look great. You can change the face plates. I got the cotton candies, rocking those right now. And the great part about it is, Jeeb, finally, they've listened and they're putting out the black ones. The all black ones, I think, are now available on their website.
I believe they
Am I
are
correct?
available. Yes.
So you get those.
We don't have them
white
yet, but we'll show you when we
faceplates.
have them for sure.
Yeah, they will be on the way soon.
Yeah, you guys can find all Mobopad's products down below in the links in our description. That is mobopad.com, mobpad.com. They're having some sales right now. Go check out their sales. And thanks to Mobopad for sponsoring. Oops, wrong button. For sponsoring today's episode. Drip. That was good. That was good. That was a good segue. I'm very proud of you for you doing the segue and not me.
I felt like you were going to forget it. I could see it in your eyes that you had already completely forgot the sponsor. So I was bringing you back.
What you saw in my eyes was my hands in two different places ready for. I was like ready for. I was going to do some button clicking and stuff. I was ready.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm on it tonight. No mistakes. Okay. Except for all the mistakes I've already made and the few ones I'll make in the future. Moving on. There's a handheld PC market right now. It's booming. There is a ton of stuff. Of course, the Switch kind of started that, if you will. I mean, I can't think of really one big one before the Switch. The Switch kind of kicked off the market and let all these devices that we have now flourish. And to the Switch's success of that is, it's also to the Switch's detriment as well, because it's kind of made itself obsolete because there's so many really powerful devices on the market right now. And some of them, like the Steam Deck, are actually really affordable as well. So we're going to kind of look at these devices, and that's why we brought on our buddy here, Rudy, to talk about this, because he knows way more about this stuff than Drip or I does, and he's going to help us fill in some gaps that I don't have, and Drip doesn't have anything of. Drip's going to be learning today.
Nothing. I know all about the Switch, man. I can tell you all about that.
And we're going to kind of make our, based off of those devices that are out there right now, we're going to kind of create and conjure up a Switch 2 that is realistic. And a price point for the Switch 2 as well. That's important as well, based off of these devices that we have right now. So I suppose, guys, we can start with the ROG Ally X, because I know that is the most recent thing that you've reviewed on your channel, I believe, Rudy. Also, you just said it was your favorite piece of tech recently. So here's what I'll say to you, Rudy. You can tell us whatever you want about the ROG Ally X right now. I don't care if it takes an hour. You can just
give us the rundown.
Whatever you want to tell us about it, you tell us.
All right. So first and foremost, Windows PC. So whether you love it or hate it, it's a Windows PC. But Valve went ahead and recently stated, yes, I think it was yesterday, that they are going to support the ROG Ally and Ally X with their own version of SteamOS, which is their own Linux build or whatever. So it'll have a console-like experience on this handheld. Obviously, it's not out yet, but if you're willing to tinker a little bit, you can install Bazite, which is its own like a community-driven version of SteamOS that is actually very similar to this. I'm actually in their Discord group talking to the devs all the time about this stuff. So the really cool thing that I like about this is that it fixed all of the issues that I had with the original Ally. Bigger battery, 1080p screen, VRR, so if it's below 60 frames, it's still going to look super smooth. And on top of that, like, you're getting that Z1 Extreme chipset, which is probably one of the best mobile chips out there right now. Now, there are rumors that the next gen of chips is going to be coming out soon. We don't really know what we're going to see. Everyone's saying that we're going to see the AMD Strix Halo chip, but that's getting like super nerdy in terms of everything. At the end of the day, you can play games, you can play them for a very long time, and the experiences that you can see on like, you can see like PS4 Pro, almost like early PlayStation 5 levels of performance on some of these games on the handheld. And that's the thing. Obviously, Drip, you mentioned this earlier, you're supposed to find all of the Donkey Kong, Mario, and all that on the Nintendo Switch. But if for any chance, you just put it on here, they're going to run super smooth. Like, you're not going to see any sort of frame dips. If you want to play like Pokemon, for instance, like Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet, like, they're going to run super smooth on here as well. Is this, something that would compete with the Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever, the Super Switch that's going to come out? Probably not. It's going to be in a completely different price point. And I don't know if you guys want to talk about pricing now or later, but
sure. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, one thing that I like, did you guys read Reggie Fils-Aimé's Disrupting the Game?
No,
No. Phenomenal book. I thought that it was going to be, very Nintendo focused, but actually just covered his entire career, and like the Nintendo part was probably like a third of the book. But while he talked about his time at Nintendo, he talked about essentially the philosophy of Nintendo and that they really are truly trying to make a profit in everything that they do. First and foremost, they don't give games away for free. How long does it take for a game to come out or drop in price, to like $40? It takes
that's
a while.
the thing. No, this generation, it hasn't. It hasn't happened.
Right.
You still go to Walmart and Breath of the Wild, the first game to come out is still $60.
Now, I'll say you can find deals for sure.
You can, yeah,
but not from Nintendo necessarily. Nintendo themselves rarely puts their own games down.
Yeah, if you buy it on the eShop,
$15, if that. It's like $19. They only go to full 20. It's always like $41.99. Like that extra $1.99, Nintendo. Do you really need that extra $1.99?
Black Friday they do it, or like some Christmas sale or something. And that's it. Yeah, they keep their prices up, which is nuts because they used to at least do Nintendo Selects. Remember those?
Right.
They drop stuff down to like $20. No, not anymore. Nope.
Yeah, man. So like that's the thing. They're always profit driven, even with their consoles. So like PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, when they first launched, they launched at a loss in the hopes that Sony and Microsoft would recover the costs through software sales and refining and doing other revisions on those consoles. So when Nintendo came out with the Nintendo Switch, they were like, hey, this is 2-year-old tech, but we can make it work. We can make things happen with this and we'll run with it. And here we are 8 years later, still getting games. They're still coming out. So with the next Nintendo Switch, I don't think that it's going to compete with something like this because it's just going to be too expensive. This is a really it's $800. I don't think that the Nintendo Switch crowd is going to be interested in something like that.
And that's very fair, Rudy. That's very fair because of the price of this thing. I'm not sure if you already said it. I couldn't tell, but $800 is the price of this thing, American USD. I mean, listen, that's not coming. We'll get to the Switch 2's potential price later on, but I'll tell you right now, that is not anywhere close to what the Switch 2 is going to cost.
No, they can't do that. I mean, their market, the people who buy Nintendo products are going to say, nah, I'm good on that, actually. $800, I'm fine. I'll keep this one. It's fine. But Nintendo has been doing, they always do that. Think about the actual gimmick of the Wii. It's an IR sensor. That's all it is. And that was old as hell. Even when that was old as hell. That was nothing. Insignificant. But they made it one of the craziest thing that's ever happened. The Switch was nuts, man. Everybody's grandma had a Switch.
Gotta love the waggle drip. Everybody loves the waggle.
Yeah, everybody's grandma had one. They're in nursing homes. They're everywhere, man. They still are. God, they put out Dance Dance Revolution for that thing. Even when the Switch was out still. Just nuts.
Oh my God.
Ubisoft's like, we're gonna rake this money into the bitter end.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Are they still releasing Just Dance on it?
No, I think they stopped. I think the last one was 2000. I want to say 2018.
Yeah, it's recent. Still,
that's
recent.
Insane. Yeah,
that's after the Wii U already died. And it's still releasing the Just Dance for the Wii.
I want to say 2018. I may be wrong. Maybe 2017.
You're right around it.
2020? No way.
That I wouldn't be surprised. I remember being recent. I remember seeing that article you guys aren't gonna believe, but the Just Dance just came out again for the Wii. I was like, what? Yeah, that's recently. So
I didn't know it was 2020. My God.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so the ROG Ally X, I made that in the title and our thumbnail as well, just because that's the hottest one right now. I do think it's definitely more at the top of the food chain in terms of comparisons to what the Switch 2 could be. But some elements that this thing has that the Switch 2 could have, I think form factor, I think is a good thing to look at. I think that's a good size. It's got, of course, Rudy, you could speak way better than this because you actually own it. But as far as I know, it's got good size to it, not too big, not too small. It's got ergonomics is pretty decent on it. Go ahead, tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of sizing, I have I have this thing docked here. So here's my Switch OLED.
Yeah.
To compare in terms of sizing.
It's a bit bigger there.
Boy. It's a thick boy, guys. Even the original ROG Ally was pretty thick thick compared to the Switch. So this is pretty big, and it's really primarily because of the battery that's in here. Also, they made it larger so that they had more cooling. So like if you run into a situation where like the controller's not working or you run into like a bug or something like that, this essentially acts as like a touch screen and like a mouse. So you can actually move out of things if you need to. The one thing that a lot of people complained about in the original Ally was that the screen got super hot. So they actually designed the fans to have a little hole and pump air in between the motherboard that's here and the screen that's in the front. So there's like a little exhaust vent right over here. So that's the back, that's the front.
Nice.
And in the middle, there's the motherboard. So that keeps this cool. It's a lot of really cool engineering in terms of like what you could get out of something like this. But in terms of like the ergonomics and everything like that, I'm okay with it, but it's not the best ergonomics in terms of all handhelds that are out there. In my opinion, I still think that like the Steam Deck is probably the best overall experience in terms of ergonomics, just because of like the way that it's set up and designed and whatnot. Like I like the way that this feels in my hands. And you know, there's a place for everything to rest, and it's evenly weighed out because of the analog sticks that are here. But you know, that's a whole, you know, different handheld, and their design philosophy is very different than Asus. In terms of like comparing that to the Nintendo Switch or whatever could be the Switch 2, like this is a chonky boy. It's not as chonky as the Legion Go, but it's chonky. I don't think that it's gonna be like that, man.
Yeah, and they said it's going to be bigger. That's what these rumors are saying. We're going to go over all these rumors. We got a bunch of rumored specs we're going to go over, but one of them is
definitely
that it's supposed to be bigger. The screen is supposed to be bigger, so the whole thing's going to be bigger. But I mean, as far as ergonomics go, that's where the Switch just falls way short. And I don't really want to just jump back into a sponsor spot here again. But I mean, putting something like this on there, like that fixes the problem. But man, the Joy-Cons are they're just awful to hold. They don't feel good. Like for a long time, it's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. There's nothing to hold, which is fine when you first get it and you get it. And it's like, oh, look at this. It's so small and thin. And it's like, it's great. But then you hold it for an hour and you're like, ow, that's not comfortable.
An hour? Dude, an hour. I mean, like for me, it's like 25 minutes max. And I have to put it down. Like I can't use it without
I'm telling you, I think I got like carpal tunnel like in my pinkies because I would do the grip where I rest my pinkies underneath to hold it under there. But then, you know,
even the Switch Lite, while it's lighter, no pun intended, it's still ergonomically awful. So like even something like the Switch Lite, which it's designed to be more portable and for kids, it's still too unergonomic, if that's even a word. It's not good to hold. Either design is not good to hold. So what I was trying to get at more is that that device has actual handles on it. So and all of these devices we'll talk about will and curves, do. Man. Yeah, so just some curves, maybe. Give us a little bit of curves.
While we're here, that's what I'm saying. While we're here, let's talk about that for a second. They already said that's another rumor, but we actually don't have on the list that I do want to talk about. They say that the Joy-Cons we have right now will work for the new Switch, but not work on the new Switch, which means we're getting a different kind of Joy-Con probably. Do you guys think they're going to be flat again, or are they actually going to give it some type of a handle, something to hold on to?
That's tough, man, because like when it comes to Nintendo, they literally run or walk at the beat of their own drum. Like they just don't care. They kind of just do whatever they want. And they might, but the thing is that like you guys mentioned earlier, the competition has heated up since 2015, like a ton. Like it's insane, man. And like I don't think that like it would make sense for them not to have some form of ergonomics. Because like the Switch Pro controller feels great. I love gaming on that.
It's really nice.
Awesome. Yeah. I wouldn't like with everything else that's out there, like I don't know. Like my go-to for most of the time is like the Hori Split Pad Pro. Like I feel like that's like enough for me to be, play the games that I want. I'm okay with everything else. But I don't know, man. I honestly don't think that Nintendo will care too much. I think they care more about like function than form in that instance.
And well, that's another thing too. I was going to ask you, do you remember when the Switch was first announced, all the renders that people were throwing out there of like the GameCube controller on the side of the Switch, and everyone was like, "Oh, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? They can do so much with this," and they did nothing. They just did nothing. Every other company's done it for them. There's several different kinds of GameCube controllers that can go on the side of this thing now. Not from Nintendo though. Yeah, it's crazy. They did nothing. So you're right. They probably will do nothing again. But man, if they don't have a like even if it ships with whatever, flat Joy-Cons that are connected different so the other ones don't work, whatever, that's fine. They have to offer a pro version. Something with some, just offer it. Or make the new Pro controller like these big Joy-Cons are now, where they just come with they come with one of these little center things and you take them off the side and it just becomes a controller. Just make that. I'd do that. I would buy it, from Nintendo. If it's the quality of the Pro controller, but only you just take that off and put it yes, absolutely. I'll take 2, please.
Easy. It's just like, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, man, Nixie Wizard, that's there, that's fine. But for me, I want that. Do you guys saw the gacha thing that they did with all of the different controllers and the little coins that you could get in the Japan Nintendo store?
Yeah, I did.
I did not.
The little keychain things. The keychain things.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yes,
they're so cool.
I did see that.
I'm imagine even if it was for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, how they have most of the stuff for some things, you could get that and you could have custom Joy-Cons that would slip in on each and every single side that would be for each and every single generation of
Why not? Why don't we have
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
They literally made they remade all the controllers of the first 3 generations and then sold them to us. Why can't you just cut those in half and put them on the side of the Switch? Can you not do that for us?
Well, they did with the NES controllers. They thought that was a good idea.
Well, yeah. They charge off the side. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's very.
I don't know why they did that, but
let's move on to the Legion Go. I think is another natural comparison here we can make to and get some ideas of what possibly they can incorporate with the Switch 2. The Legion Go, and again, I don't own this, never even held it before. Rudy, I believe, is getting it right in front of us here.
Yeah.
So, Rudy, again, same story as ROG LIX. You can tell us whatever you want about it. Ready, set, go.
So, out of all of the ones that I have, this is the biggest one out of all.
Yeah, he's a chunky boy.
Let me get you the Switch, so you can see the difference in sizing, man. It's freaking insane. And in terms of the thickness, it is definitely there, man. Completely different.
You could probably stack 2 Switches on top of each other, and it's about the thickness of that boy. Not to mention the width, which it's still wider than the Switch.
It's insane, man. So I don't know if you guys know why this was designed the way that it is, but you're supposed to be able to take these off and use these as a mouse, or at least one of them. There's a quote unquote FPS mode that's used for this. So this would be mapped out to your WASD keys, and then everything else. I can play Destiny 2 on here, no big deal. And because of the kickstand, you can literally just pop it up, set yourself up and game, which is really nice. But the thing that I like about this, that a lot of people kind of is this, the screen is absolutely immaculate. This is a 1440 screen basically.
Oh, wow.
So it's huge. You can really push things up, and without spoiling some of the stuff that is later on in the podcast, you can upscale some of the stuff that is in here, which is really cool. In terms of the gimmickiness of this, in terms of the gimmickiness that's here, that's the one thing that I'm afraid of, because of the misplacement of all of the buttons that are here. It feels very weird to kind of game on this, and then you have your triggers that are right here on the side while you're gaming. So it's very odd. I think that one of the things that I like about the Nintendo Switch right now is how, I know that we don't have technically a D-pad, but no matter how you look at it, everything is even.
Yeah.
Everything is evenly balanced in terms of a design perspective. Mm-hmm. Now with this thing, it has the same chipset as the ROG LIX, so you can run the same games. It has less RAM. So the ROG LIX has 24 gigabytes of RAM. I think they're both LPDDR5X. But the thing with this is that it's so versatile with the screen, with the RAM, with the processor, that honestly, this could be the handheld for most people. One thing that I do like about it now is the price point. I think you can find these for like $550 online. So you can probably, no, it's not bad, dude.
Is that
like,
retail or is that
terrible.
aftermarket?
Retail? Let me
Really?
look right now.
$500, huh?
Sure. Yeah.
That's not terrible. I mean,
I'm on
especially when you
Legion-
consider.
I'm sorry, Drew.
I mean, a Switch. A Switch OLED is what, $350?
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about what that can do compared to this thing.
I'm on Lenovo's
really not bad at all.
website. Their own website starts at $679. But I'm sure like Walmart and Target and those kind of places probably have this.
It's
Best Buy.
$599 at Best Buy right
There you
now. Amazon, you can find it for $550. Now, if you go like refurbished, then that's a whole different story. The ROG Ally, the first one, is another one that's like really, really good for the price right now. That one you can find. Walmart's $400.
Wow.
The Best Buy has it for $500. Asus's own store in the US has it for $400 as well. Which I don't know if I have that one up here. That one might be downstairs, but it's still an awesome little handheld. Like, the beautiful thing about this one, screen size, the detachable Joy-Con like controllers are here for like if you wanted to play first-person shooters, and it works fine. The battery life on this is also really chunky. At the time before the Ally X, it was the best one out there, and like, it's sturdy. It is ridiculously sturdy. The metal design is awesome. The only thing that I don't like, it gets hot and the speakers suck. Like, the speakers are up top. So like, these little things that are right here, these two sides, that's the speakers. And for me,
going away from
I like
you.
speakers. Yeah. I like them to be front facing, not going up into the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right.
So you said the battery life's good on that thing. What is the battery life on it?
I think it's 56 watt hours, if I remember correctly. It is probably, let me double check just to be sure. But it's not bad, man. Like, the thing is that, like, if you, and this was the thing, when I first reviewed this handheld, it just came out, the drivers were okay. But the big thing about it that a lot of people, didn't really like was the fact that, like, if you were playing, like, let's say Elden Ring, for instance, or if you want to play GTA 5 or like these huge games, your battery would last like an hour, maybe an hour and a half if you're lucky. Yeah. And as like things got, updated, and then drivers kind of, ironed out all of the wrinkles, things got better. But it really just depends on the games that you're playing and the TDP that you're using, which is another thing. Because like, if you're using a TDP of like, let's say 7 watts, you can get that battery that's there to last like 6 hours, 7 hours, easy. With the ROG Ally X, you can get like 8, 9, 10 hours at a time without any problem at all, man. That's the thing. It really depends on like what you're going for on it. The battery on the Legion Go is 49.2 hours. So depending on what you're doing, you might get anywhere between an hour, 2 hours, or 4 hours and 50 minutes. So it really just depends on the games that you play. It's kind of like, you remember when the original Switch came out and like, you could play, I don't know, Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
And you could play that for like hours, like 3 hours.
Had the comparison of like Breath of the Wild gets this.
It gets like
what they said.
minutes.
That game gets this.
Yeah.
They were pretty close on to what they said too. But I mean, yeah, even then the original Switch, it was pretty impressive that they were getting what they were getting out of it then. And then when they updated the chip or whatever and the V2s, it got even better, which was, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing Nintendo's concerned about with all this. Yeah. Like, it has to have battery life. Has to have battery life. Like, it can't be a 1 hour, can't be a 1 hour thing. It cannot be that.
No, for sure.
And that's the thing. Like, when I was talking to the engineers over at Asus, one of the things that they mentioned was like, we didn't realize how important battery life would be for a handheld, because in the PC space, we just want power. As much power, as many frames, as everything. And, they were like, one of the biggest complaints that we got was battery life. And it's really cool. I'm actually really excited with the potential on this thing. So this is good too. But, it's been topped off by the Legion Go, the ROG Ally X at this point.
Yeah, I think for me, and probably a lot of people out there, especially like a Nintendo audience that's used to the Switch or a Switch Lite even, the Legion Go is too damn big. That thing is I'm not even thickness and heaviness, just in like the screen even. Like I am somebody who likes a good screen. And a good screen doesn't necessarily mean big. Like the bigger you make the screen doesn't mean better. I mean, I can think back in, like I told you, like iPhone 4, a big tech guy back then, like the phone days back in like the early 2010s, mid 2010s, like they were trying stuff with screens. Screens were making a transition from 720 to 1080, even 1440 at that time. And like some companies just didn't get it. And we're like, well, we're just going to make the screen bigger, but keep it 720p. And it's like, bro. Like we don't all you see is more pixels now. But like you look at that other phone that is 4.7 inches, but is 1080p. It's like ooh crisp, whatever. Yeah. So anyway, Legion Go.
That's kind of why that Switch Lite looked better than the Switch original.
Because it had more pixel density. But the Legion Go doesn't have that issue. Legion Go's got 1440p screen, so the pixel density is very good. It's probably on par with like a smaller 1080p panel as far as like pixel density. But it's just too damn big. How big is the screen? What is it? 10 or
8.8 inches?
It might as well be 15 for me.
Damn, dude.
It might as well be 15 feet for me because I don't want anything like that, dude. Like that's just too much.
Dude,
PC.
that's playing a fucking iPad Pro.
Dude, it's massive.
It's too much. And, like,
it's
cool as it is.
It's huge, man. But like, the thing is that like you don't even run games at that resolution. You run games at like 800p and then you upscale. Because you're gonna kill your battery if you run at full resolution.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like again, like it's great that it has that big, nice, high resolution screen. But at the same time, battery life is a big problem. The more pixels you have to push, the more the battery gets drained quickly, and that's another thing Nintendo's not going to do, in my opinion. People are talking about, we need a 4K screen. No, we do not. 720p is going to be just fine. 1080, maybe they'll do that. Just
I think it's going to end up being 1080
for the branding. They might go 1080, but listen, it's,
for
like,
that reason,
7
alone.
inches, 720 is going to be fine. But like if they do 720, 1080, it's going to be really nice, and it's going to be a nice compromise. But I believe I want low resolution because again, it's just going to hurt your battery life. And I'd prefer in a device like the Switch for the audience, like people who buy Switch, it's the battery life that matters more than how many pixels are we pushing. That's the difference between the PC market and like what the Switch is going after. Those people for the Switch don't care about the resolution on that scale. They just want to make, does it look good?
It just needs to be acceptable.
It's the iPhone crowd, right? Is it Retina? Retina is like not even that good anymore in terms of like resolution, but like that's all they care about, like the marketing and whatever,
marketing and the branding. I want to ask you though, man. So let's say that the Switch 2 comes out and like they have a 1080 screen, right? But I feel like everyone has a phone, whether it's iPhone, Android, whatever. Everyone understands what a battery saver mode is. What if there's a battery saver mode on the Nintendo Switch 2 or the Super Switch, and that'll go ahead and decrease the resolution and decrease the clock speed of, obviously unbeknownst to the user.
Yeah.
Right. And just a blanket battery saving mode.
Saver mode. That's it. And then like maybe if after it reaches like, I don't know, like 15 or like 10% battery life, it'll automatically switch to that. But you can toggle that on. Like, do you think that that's something that's even feasible?
I have no idea if it's feasible.
That's your department. Hold on. That's your department.
Don't ask those us those questions for us, man.
We don't
We're
know
a bunch of cavemen
stuff.
over here.
What? Is that feasible? Sure.
I think it is.
Hell yeah. I love that idea. It's totally feasible.
Do it. That's the thing.
Will they do it? Yeah.
Will they do it? I don't know, man. I feel like
the way that you put that though.
Yeah.
Just being a simple, just like an iPhone. Like you can switch it, you hit a button and go into I don't know what's happening. Nothing changes to me. Yeah, the battery lasts long. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing when I hit that button.
Forget the Switch. Why don't they get something like that on these other devices, these handheld PCs? Because while you can do that, right? You can go in there yourself and knock stuff down. For the simpletons out there, not like myself, but almost like if like a person like Drip, I like going and tinkering, but there's certain points where I'm like, I don't want to do this much tinkering. This is too much tinkering for me. So like a button just to press to do all those tinkering things for me would be awesome. And I think for Nintendo, of course they should think about it. They would be able to go after some of this PC market if they made it super powerful, but also just press a freaking button. And now it runs basically like the old Switch does, but you get 15 hours of battery life or whatever, like. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm literally going to jot that down and like send it to my reps because that's a brilliant idea.
That's a really good idea.
Man.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
That's a great idea. And speaking of a great idea, I guess we can move on now from the Legion Go and to the one that hits most near and dear to my heart, which is the Steam Deck. And for this purposes, we're going to go with the Steam Deck OLED because that's the newest one. It's the nicest one. Although I will mention quickly that you can get the original Steam Deck for like dirt cheap these days, especially if you go for like the 64 gig model. If you can find that, I mean, that thing's for nothing. I think you could buy a Switch Lite for the same price. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that thing's cheap these days. But anyway, the Steam Deck OLED. What is your thoughts, Rudy? Go ahead. Just tell us all you want to tell us.
I freaking love the Steam Deck OLED, man. Are you kidding me? Like it's like literally like right in front of me. I have the dock. I have, I got the limited edition version with like the colored stuff and the see-through shell and whatnot. Freaking love this thing. I don't even know how many hours I put into this thing, man. Like, and it's like I mentioned, like this is the closest console-like experience. And I actually posted a video about this recently on the channel because, what I get is a lot of people coming from the Switch, like I said, and they're like, I don't know what to get. What do I get? And if you're coming from the Switch and you want to go into PC gaming, but you want to have something that has a low barrier of entry, but has a high skill ceiling, if you really want to get deep into it, that's the way that you want to go ahead and go because it's easy to download, easy to play. Battery life is magnificent. I get like 10, 11 hours playing Balatro on here. It's absolutely good. Obviously, more recent titles are a little bit more difficult to run on because that APU that they built from AMD came out, a few years back. That being said, most games still run fine. They mentioned Valve when they released this. They mentioned we want our target frame rate to be 30 FPS. We don't want anything, higher than that. And to be honest with you, most titles, they run at 30 FPS if you want them to. Obviously, you have to tweak things and move things around. But if you're afraid of kind of like going into like messing in with like all these different shaders and all this and that, most modern games now have like an auto detect feature where you like hit a button and it'll just detect all of the settings that are just right for your handheld. But most games on here, they run on low settings and you don't really have to worry about anything. Battery life is awesome. And obviously, like if you want to tweak, if you want to go in deeper, there's a whole desktop mode because this is a PC. So you can go into like the Linux side of this thing and then from there tweak to your heart's content and just have fun. Also, emulation is a beast on here.
Yeah.
It is. Dude, emulation is awesome.
Rudy, don't you love theoretically? Of course not, actually, but theoretically playing Twilight Princess and Wind Waker on your Steam Deck, isn't that like your favorite thing to do? Drip's leaving now.
Dude, it's awesome. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And like,
funny story for you, Rudy, real quick, just to explain why Drip's acting the way he's acting. Again, I have Drip's Switch or a Steam Deck. It was payment for some editing work that I did for him. So I got his Steam Deck, and for the life of his Steam Deck, he could not figure out emulation. Drip is not technically inclined.
I don't. When it comes to that stuff, no, I don't know shit. I try. Oh my god, and I got ADHD too, and that was like one of those things where I'm like, I'm not hyper focused on it enough to really go, and it got to a point where I was just like, I can't even do this anymore. I'm walking away. It just wouldn't work. I had somebody walking me through it, literally on Discord, walking me through it step by step. Yeah, and I still couldn't get it to work. I'm like, dude,
do you know about like EmuDeck at all?
Yeah, that's what we were trying to use.
Oh, dang! Because
I don't know. Either he was explaining it wrong or I was doing something wrong that he wasn't seeing, but it just would not work.
Yeah. So I told Drip within minutes of me acquiring my Steam Deck, with a little help from our buddy, I was like, I'll be playing Twilight Princess Wind Waker, don't worry. And then I get the thing within a week, I'm playing Twilight Princess Wind Waker. I'm just, we're rolling. I'm sorry, theoretically we're playing those games.
Theoretically, of course.
I got
a dream. It actually didn't happen.
It's awesome. Like you literally, it's a push of a button at this point in terms of like setting up.
Yeah. For those who are inclined, it's very easy. It really is. Well, if you got patience and some skill, you're good.
Yeah, like it's at this point because I got this, when the first one came out, and EmuDeck like 1.0 was a little bit more challenging than it is now. But EmuDeck 2. I think it's 2.2 now or 2.3, super easy to do. Like it's one click, you go in, you drag and drop your games, bim bam boom. It pulls all of the drivers, all of the emulators from the internet.
Yeah,
it's a one and done package, man. And
it sounds nothing like what I was doing.
No, it was Drip. It really
Dude, it's
was.
super
That
easy.
doesn't
Super
sound
easy.
like what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to relive that nightmare. It's bad.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. But there's like other things that you can do with this. Like, you know, you have Chiaki for deck, which means that you can stream PlayStation to it. So you can play wherever you want as long as you have the IP address to it. Same thing for Xbox. Though with Xbox, it's a little bit more difficult. Recently, though, they released a launcher like Linux version of that, so you can play games from like Ubisoft, you can play games from Xbox, you can play games from PlayStation, like all this stuff to just make it easier and be able to access everything.
I did
honestly,
use what's xCloud on it.
xCloud. Yeah.
That actually
So you
worked
were able to do
very,
that?
very well. Yeah, I got that working. I
Dude,
did get that working.
Those problems.
Really? I got it first try. Yeah.
Listen, don't say you. It was Hero who helped you.
No.
Did you do that one?
No. The Xbox one I did myself. I did that
well,
myself.
there you
Oh
go.
my God.
There you go. Look at you.
I had
Drew.
issues
Yeah, I got
with
it first try too. I had it up, running. I was
Dude.
going, man.
I
Little
got it up
custom
and
art on there. I did the whole thing.
I
Did
didn't
the
have
whole damn
issues
thing.
with it per
Great.
se. The issues that I had with xCloud on the Steam Deck was I got in there in my queue because I don't have the service. I was trying that like a trial, whatever it was, a trial or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, here's 3.5 hours wait for your turn, and I'm like, I got all the way there, and I like, okay, ready to play. 3.5 hours. I'm like, well, I did all that
What
work.
were you trying to play? Was that when
I don't know.
Starfield came out? Were you trying to play Starfield?
No, I don't think so. Because
Okay.
I actually had no. Because I had Game Pass when Starfield came out, and I was playing Game Pass.
Well,
on
I tried to
PC.
play. I think it made me wait too.
But whatever game
Yeah.
it was, I was like really excited. I got it all set up, and then my wait is forever. So I waited for an hour because it was fluctuating. It was like
Oh
3.5
my
hours,
God.
then 45 minutes, and then an hour. It was So then I waited an hour, and then it just stayed an hour for the entire hour. So I was like, I'm done. You know, I'm done with this.
No.
Anyway, one of my favorite parts about the Steam Deck is the fact that it's as close as you can get to a console experience with one of these handheld PCs, and it's to anybody. We talk about barrier of entry. That's a big one with the Steam Deck. To put into the layman terms, it is the most like a gaming console that you expect, like a PS5, Xbox, or Switch. But it really is a PC. At the end of the day, you can restart the thing, reboot into Linux, and it's a PC. But it's not just big picture mode, right? It's more than that. It's even more simple than that. It's a whole operating system kind of inside of on top of Linux, and it really works really well. And it made somebody like me, who I do like to do some tinkering here and there. These days I don't do as much because it's going so fast for me, man. I'm getting older by the second. I'm getting like 5 seconds older every 1 second. Like that's how I feel. But like the Steam Deck, man, it makes it really easy to do all this stuff, even for somebody like me who is slightly inclined. And I just love it, man. That's my favorite part about it.
Yeah, man. Like I agree with you 110%. It's the easiest thing to get into. And to be honest with you, like if the next Nintendo Switch performs in terms of like gameplay and all this and that, like the Steam Deck OLED, I'd be happy because these are like PC games that we're playing in a handheld form. If Nintendo comes in with this hardware, and you know, we all have seen what Nintendo can do with old hardware. Like imagine something like this, like dude, and the price point is right on the money in terms of like what I would expect for the Super Switch to like come out on. So I 100% agree with you, man.
Oh, you know what? I think it's a good time to start talking about those Super Switch specs.
That's what
There's a bunch of rumored stuff out there. We got like a list. We looked through some articles, found rumored features, rumored specs. Some of this stuff, I mean, I don't know. Some of this stuff is old. We talked about this before we actually went on there. Some of this stuff is old. Some of this stuff is newer. Some of this stuff is stuff Jeeb actually leaked a few weeks ago. Because again, I told you we're leakers over here. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Jeeb leaked this a while back. We'll get into that. But I'm just gonna go down the list here. Okay, the first one, and this is kind of old. And you're basically going to tell us whether you think this is possible to do in a Switch and keep it at the price it needs to be or not. And I think, honestly, most of this stuff, I think it can be done. We'll talk about a price point at the end. But first thing, 12 gigabytes of RAM. Yeah, we're good with that?
Yeah,
so
100%.
supposedly they're doing this. Now, I got a question for you on this. Supposedly it's going to be 2 different modules, 6 gigabytes each of LPDDR5X.
Did you get your reading glasses out for that one, Drip?
Why is it 2? What is that? Is there some reason that they would put it in 2 different places?
Yeah. So, okay. Theoretically speaking, like you should have a like on a computer, for instance, you technically have 2 sticks of RAM, right?
Okay.
So the 2 sticks of RAM work together to run the OS as well as all of the games that are there. Looking back at the ROG Ally X, the original Ally had 16 gigabytes of RAM. The Ally X has 24 gigabytes of RAM. They added that extra 8 gigabytes of RAM to give enough RAM so that the games can run better. My guess, looking at those specs, is that the 12 gigabytes of RAM would probably be directed to either the OS or the games that they want to go ahead and run, and the other 6 gigabytes would be for the other. So like me being me and like looking at like the specs and wanting the most to go to the games, I would want the 12 gigabytes to go to the games and the 6 gigabytes to go to the OS, because the OS should be light like how it is on the Switch that we have now. Is it doable? 110%. Like with what we're seeing in like today's day and age in terms of like pricing and like specs and all that, like I really think that this is possible. The most like I think the most that you would need to run games in today's day and age, though, is like 16 gigabytes. So it's hitting that, I think. Anything more than that would be kind of like, extra free RAM to have. If they're giving themselves enough space to kind of grow and let that console age over time, heck yeah.
Totally. I think
you got to
12...
think about the originals. What's the original Switch have? 4?
I
think it's 4, and I think they were trying to do 3, but the developer's like, no.
I think
you need
that
to put 4.
That 12,
DDR4.
that 12 RAM that tracks, because like 16 is probably more like what it really should be. But at the same time, that Nintendo will be Nintendo for Nintendo reasons. We'll do a little bit less, but the developers will make it work. Even with
that's the whole thing. We talked about this earlier. They're trying to make money off this.
Yeah,
so at least they're not doing like the little
pulling
corners here and there.
At least not pulling an Apple at like 8 gigs of RAM on their computers. Like, why are they doing that, Apple, these days with their baseline PCs? 8 gigs of RAM on a PC. Like, come on, guys, let's get more RAM going.
Now, I got a question real quick. Is it going to be 12 gigabytes RAM total?
Total. That's total. Yeah.
Understood.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. It's 6 gigabytes here, 6 gigabytes here. Yeah.
Understood. Then yes, even more so. That is very much doable. Like, yes.
Okay.
Very much doable.
Now,
go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, like I thought that it was like 12 gigabytes of like operating system like RAM.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, it's just the 12. 6 and 6.
Yeah, totally doable. Like, yes, that's feasible. That's something that can be done. The one thing that like would concern me is third-party support. But we've seen what can be done with the Switch. Like, I mean, I'm not worried that developers from like third party, like, who knows, maybe this could run Cyberpunk. Like,
and that's the thing. We've got way more specs that we might be cool. So we're gonna go down the list. We got some other stuff here. Now, this other thing here, I did a little bit of research on this weeks and weeks back because we talked about this, and every once in a while, I just dive deep on this random shit and actually learn about it. This one I kind of did, but it's the type of storage that it sounds like they're going to be using. So I'm going to do these both at the same time. The cartridges are supposedly going to be this 5th generation Samsung VNAND that has reading speeds of like 1.4 gigabytes per second. And the internal is going to be 256 gigabytes of UFS 3.1 storage. So I'm a photographer, videographer. That's like what I do. So fast memory cards, that's a thing I know a little bit about. But these are like these are really fast. So I mean, I don't know a ton about this technology, but this seems to be something that is possible and a good way to go, right?
100%, man. Like, for instance, I recently changed I don't know if it has it on here. No, it doesn't have it on it. But I recently just like changed a hard drive, like a 2.5 inch SSD for like an old computer that I had for my kid. And that read write speed, yes,
it's insane.
Like,
that's really fast.
It's really fast, and I think that with the way the pricing is with NAND memory, I think that that's 100% feasible because it's cheap now. There are rumors that like supplies are like, running out and that there's going to be another generation of like memory in terms of things. Like, I don't know. You're like a videographer and photographer, I'm assuming. So like, did you see that like SanDisk like recently released, what is it, like 1 terabyte or was it 2?
Well,
yeah,
they've got a lot. I mean, it's crazy how fast they change with this stuff. But I actually have a memory card here. When I switched to Sony from Nikon, I bought this memory card right here, and that was years ago. Ago. This is a 300 megabits per second card, which is a SanDisk Extreme Pro.
Oh yeah.
At the time, this is only a 64 gigabyte card. At the time, this was like $100. This was insane at the time. This was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, even all the other cards I have now that I don't even use this. Like my camera, I don't, that's for people. You need speed like that when you're really run and gun shooting something fast, and you need to be able to see what's happening and look in and doing like weddings, stuff like that. And I don't really shoot a lot of weddings anymore. And even when I do, it ain't like that. Yeah. So even after using that card for a while at the time, it made a huge difference in what it was writing to my camera and what was happening and what I could see. But yeah, I mean, it's just insane how fast they've come with like even just the storage. Yeah, because that's what I have in my Switch is a micro SD card that's 1 terabyte.
Yeah, let's quickly talk about the Switch and its speeds and how it's bottlenecked on like both ends as far as like the internet downloading speeds are really slow in the thing, but it writes pretty slow as well. Like I feel like when I'm like transferring games via like from SD card to system, it's still pretty damn slow. Like it's just these speeds, just to put it into layman's terms for those who are listening who are not very inclined, like we're talking about like a spaceship versus a Flintstones car as far as like where the speeds are gonna go.
That's actually a very good comparison.
Like where the speeds, like the Switch 2 speeds, all around downloading to the system's memory, but also like internet coming in, like the Wi-Fi card. It's all gonna be like spaceships to Flintstones.
Well, yeah, that's another. The Wi-Fi card that's in the original Switch is just
not good.
Yeah,
it's very bad. It's so bad.
Playing Smash on there without like. I'm so glad that like the OLED dock comes with like an Ethernet port because it just makes it so much easier to like run into. Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned Drip about the memory card because like I'm looking at I have a Sony XQD card, and it has 440 read-write megabits per second or megabytes. And I'm just like, I'm looking at that and that's like absolutely insane in terms of like the speed and everything. To think that like something on like the Switch, Super Switch will be so much faster than this is insane. Like,
because that's the thing. These aren't out yet, I don't think. I don't think they've actually released this stuff yet because it's Samsung stuff that they announced recently, right?
Yeah,
but supposedly they did and I think Samsung actually said that they did a deal with another company to do a big thing and then supposedly the rumor is that it's Nintendo and that's what's happening. So
that's insane, man.
Yeah, that's wild. So I mean, yeah, that would be actually be going against what Nintendo normally does, which is kind of interesting. And that's I don't want to get too far off topic, but that's another thing we're going to see. And I've talked about it a ton, and I rarely hear people talk about this, but I bring it up a lot. This is the first time we're going to see this group of people who are running things at Nintendo release something. We're going to see a whole different way of doing things that we have not seen at Nintendo. Because, yes, they may have the way that they do things, but everybody's different. Everybody. From the top, I mean, almost everybody is different. The way that this thing's going to be launched and the way that they're going to go about doing this is not going to be like it's been. So I don't know. I hope to see stuff like this. I really hope they go a little bit of a different direction. But I don't want to get too far off topic. I just wanted to mention that.
No, you're right though, man. Like you're right. Like just to kind of like sum up a little bit, like Nintendo's already said that they're like, this might be the last console that we might ever, like they've said that before in the past. And my assumption is form factor in terms of like, yes, this is going to be the last form factor that we're going to design. We're not going to come up with like another, crazy gimmick like the Wii, reusing old hardware and things like that or old tech. So yeah, you're probably right, man. Like this might be completely different from what we've seen in the past.
I mean, just the fact of them going to a second version of the same thing that they put out is something they've never done before either. So
Yeah.
I mean, we're already basically there. So it's just going to be crazy to
NES,
see how far
Super
they go with it.
Nintendo. I mean, they did do that.
Yeah, but dude, come on.
Wii,
That was back in the day. That doesn't even count.
Wii U.
It had double the buttons. Come on, that was insane.
And Wii U. I mean, come on. They've done it a couple times.
Okay, the Wii and the Wii U are completely different, though. If you actually looked at them, they were completely different.
Yes, but
one controller was a remote,
successor.
and the other one was a TV.
To say they've never done a successor before is a lie. They've done a successor twice.
But I thought the reason why they went with the Wii U was in order to take advantage of the market that they already had.
Yeah.
To kind of
But they were trying. They tried to do that and then botched the marketing completely, and nobody knew what the hell it was.
Yeah, they
just tried to make it look like, ooh, it's the new Wii, but it wasn't really the new Wii. It's a controller. It's a controller for the Wii. Well, I have a controller for my Wii. I don't need that. And the people who didn't, know, were just like, I don't care. I got a Wii. I mean, this is. If they call it the Switch 2 or the Super Switch like that, and it's really the same thing, Joy-Cons, I mean, same basic button layout.
Yeah, that'll be the first time they really did do the same thing twice. Just different or better, an upgrade.
Yeah.
Any more Switch 2 specs you want to hit on, Drip? Because I want to.
Quickly, the NVIDIA T239 chip, that's been talked about forever.
Yeah.
Like I'm guessing that's probably going to be what it is. I've heard other rumors of some other weird ones that I don't know anything about. I'm not going to act like I know anything about any of that, but hey, it's got NVIDIA's name on it. I'm guessing they're going to be involved since they have been, and there's supposedly some 10-year contract or something like that. So guessing they're going to be on there. Okay, this is something I don't know what this means, and I heard you say it earlier. What is Ampere GPU architecture? What is that?
So like the Ampere GPU architecture, I'm going to try to kind of like imagine you get like a model, right? You get like a let's say you get like you get like a Steam Deck, and then there's like a super Steam Deck. So like every 2 years you get a refresh for a GPU. And typically with that refresh, you get a new architecture, which is how they lay out all of like the different components that make the processor for the GPU, right? Ampere is kind of the one that came out 2 generations ago, if I remember correctly. And the cool thing about Ampere that is really, 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 really exciting is DLSS. Which I don't know if you guys want to save that for later on, but
it's coming up. Go ahead.
Super, super exciting. But to also like kind of like piggyback on terms of like what Ampere is, like it can play pretty much the majority of the games that are out on PC right now pretty well. That's another thing about it that I want to go ahead and say that those GPUs can run the games pretty well. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get into that. I'm going to run down a few just specs here just so we can have these said as we get into the pricing here. Backwards compatibility, I think that's a guarantee at this point. We already know. From what we hear, 7-inch display. I don't see that as a crazy thing. 60-watt charger is going to come with it. So obviously it's going to be pushing some power. Another weird thing, we should probably stop here for a second. There's supposedly a second cooling system, possibly in the dock. So that is kind of cool. I mean, that's saying they are going to be pushing, at least enough more power docked that they need to cool it down more.
It's just it's just obvious. Like I don't really.
Yeah.
Is it though? Because they didn't have it. The dock was nothing.
Well, because the Switch didn't need
but it's actually this big.
Because they underclocked the Switch to begin with, and while docked, it only overclocked slightly. I mean, in the dock, so they didn't need to. I mean, it doesn't get that much hotter in the dock. Plus, there is some air gap in there. The Switch, at least the OLED, had like the metal, so like the passive cooling was a little bit better. I mean. It didn't need it. Trust me, Drip. It did not. The Switch didn't, as we know it now, does not need a fan of the dock.
No, I don't think it does either.
It's going to be wanting to the power that's going to be what we're going to want out of the Switch 2. It's going to need. I think a fan in the dock makes the most sense. The normal kind of, because you don't want to make the device too big, and if you have 2 fans, it's not going to have 2 fans in the unit itself unless it's really big and really pushes some power. But I think what makes the most sense is the fan in the system as it usually goes, and then you got the fan in the dock so you can overclock while connected to power and really get some heat going, and he can just disperse from out of the dock.
It's possible.
I'm curious as how that's going to work. I'm definitely not a thermal engineer by any means, but it's like there was this company that sent me a fan for the PS5 to slap on the back. It was around the time that Final Fantasy 16 came out. I was playing it and like I didn't have any issues, but there were people like on Reddit and Twitter and whatnot that were like, "Oh, this is making my PS5 shut down." I was like, "Okay, well, let's try this out. Let's test this out." I opened up my PS5. I put in a whole bunch of like thermal probes, one next to the RAM, one next to the CPU, and in other different parts like the memory. Close it up. The difference that I saw with that was like 1 to 2 degrees on average, Celsius. And so it wasn't enough for me to be like, oh yeah, like this totally made a huge difference. And my gaming experience is better because of that heat dissipation. So that has to be like if they do that, it has to be really, really well engineered to the point to where like, if you put the switch into the dock, it's going to have almost like a sealed connection between the fans that are within the dock and the console itself in order for it to work properly.
What if it's something completely different though? What if there is is this possible if there's more tech in the dock that needs cooled? Something else that they're doing there that's going to be connected to the switch with whatever connection goes in there?
That wireless 2 screens at the same time?
Okay, well that's another rumor too. Yeah, well let's go there real quick because Jeeve has leaked this already because that's what we do around here. We just leak shit because we're fucking leakers. That's what we are. Yeah. So Jeeve's idea was basically to be able to use the Switch, and I love this idea, to be able to use the Switch as your controller. So you're basically streaming from the Switch to the dock and then to the TV, but you have 2 screens, basically like the Wii U. I love that idea. Is it possible? I don't know. Latency stuff, I mean, they did it with the Wii U and it seemed to be fine, but I mean, this is a whole different ballgame. I don't know. What do you think?
Is it doable?
I mean, I know it's possible, but it's
totally doable.
What type of tech are we talking about to make this actually work well? Because that's the thing. Nintendo, while they do cut corners and do things cheap, if it doesn't work well, they don't do it. Everything they do is seamless. It works perfectly. It's not like, oh, I'm confused on how to, or oh no, it's not working right. That doesn't happen really with Nintendo stuff. It just works. I mean,
that's because like, the whole like GPU thing being built into like the dock or something that would go ahead and provide a little bit more oomph to like the gameplay is something that, I could definitely see happening. Let's say, you buy this console and it comes with, a Switch-like controller similar to the Wii U. It has to, and that my assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, that extra controller, that's the one that you actually like game on? Or is the one that's actually connected and docked the one that runs all the games?
It would be this. So what it is this is basically, so you can either put this in the dock and then get the more power from this and the dock to be, super resolution on the screen, whatever. Or you can take this and just wirelessly connect to the dock and have 2 screens, but you're not getting the power that dock.
So then you're kind of streaming the game on your TV while it's running from the Switch, but you can at the same time the game is on the Switch or on the TV.
Yeah,
but then
just the middleman.
The Switch is basically either a pause menu like a Wii U, or it can go beyond that depending on how they develop. So I mean that's kind of the idea. Or another way they can also do this feature is if you own 2 Switches, finally give a reason to own 2 Switches, be able to utilize the full power in the dock with one Switch, but then have like a Switch Lite or just another Switch console in your hand as well.
Too much. You're asking too much.
I'm just saying,
dude, you can't even hook up Bluetooth headphones and 2 controllers to the Switch right now.
I'm just explaining my initial idea of why this came. Like any of those 3 options would be something cool that they could do. That could make a gimmick that actually works for like the geeks and something that's cool to like as a gimmick for the non-geeks. I think
and that's the thing too. It's if you're going to do the Switch 2, we've talked about this a lot. I think the big thing that is going to happen with this is there's got to be another way to switch. There's got to be a 4th way. Yeah. We got tabletop, handheld, docked. I think that should be, it's probably going to be the gimmick of this next thing.
Yeah, it's more powerful. Can't you see Rudy, can't you see the marketing already? Another way to switch. A new way
to play. That's exactly what they'll say.
A new way to switch. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
No. Like I can see it. I can see it.
You're like, I don't want that. You guys are crazy.
But the one thing that I'm worried about is how well it's actually going to work in real life.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I'm worried about, because some of the games that I played on the Wii U just left me scratching my head in terms of like, why did they design it this way? Why did they put these mechanics in here? I understand that there's a second screen and you have to utilize it in some instances, but there were also some instances where I was like, that just doesn't make sense.
I hear
the
you.
Star Fox thing. The Star Fox thing.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Thing.
It's awful.
If they do that, they have to develop the software and use proper design philosophy in order to make it accessible and appealing to people. Because if not, it's just going to be another gimmick that people aren't going to use.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they messed it up really bad once. Maybe they've learned their lesson.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think because they messed it up so bad the first time, they've learned from their mistakes and they can really kind of improve on it big time for this Switch 2 or Super Switch. Please, Lord, make it the Super Switch.
Yeah.
Super Switch.
But I think they can learn from the mistakes. I think from first party stuff, or like the Star Fox thing, they can learn and develop better for the Switch 2 because they know it's gonna sell. It's gonna be good. Not like unlike the Wii U was, and they kind of gave up on it. And for the third party side of things, there's actually going to be interest to actually develop something out of like the one or two games that actually utilize the gamepad properly, third party, like actual interest in making this work properly if given the time, and which it seems like they have. It seems like they've been developing for this Switch 2 for a very long time.
100 years at this point.
Seriously.
So fine.
So I don't know. I think it's a good idea because it's my idea. But at the same time, like it would be a great marketing thing for Nintendo to really keep that gimmick streak alive, but also at the same time give the power users what they've been wanting. And honestly, what they need, because even though the people who aren't power users, like my 6-year-old nephew, actually 7, he turned 7 recently. My 7-year-old nephew,
hey, happy birthday.
Like he doesn't care about the power, but at the same time, it would benefit him playing Pokemon so it doesn't look like poo-poo. Like, come on, guys, let's get some more power. Okay, before we move on, I just want to say we have a winner to announce.
Oh no.
I played a couple sounds, Drip. Get your finger ready for the sounds, Mr. Drip, because we teased it way like forever ago at this point, but we have a winner to announce. Funny enough, Mrs. G picked the first winner at first, and she corrected herself. She's like, wait, was this already picked? So she's like, in case this winner was already picked, I have another winner. So we have a real winner this time. Here we go. Drum roll, please. Please? Drum roll, please. The winner of our $50 eShop gift card this person's been waiting for an eternity to hear this because we're a month late. The selection is in. Mrs. Jeeb has selected TTY Humphreys. You are the winner of the $50 eShop gift card giveaway for your review that is, as such, Best Nintendo Podcast. I started listening to the Different G podcast a year ago. I always look forward to their opinions and predictions. I don't even look forward to my own predictions and opinions, but okay, thanks, guy. These guys are always stay positive and optimistic. That is the biggest lie I think I've ever heard, but thank you again for being so nice. Thanks for always making me laugh. I hope we do that. So, TTY Humphreys, you're the winner. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
We'll be in contact. My people contact your people. Your people contact my people. We'll get you that gift card. Okay. So
DLSS
on the Switch.
Let's go there.
What? Well, let me top it off because this might be an episode or a clip for our podcast channel. So let's start off like this. The Switch 2 is coming out. We all know it. It's coming out really soon. What is it going to look like? What's the Switch 2 going to look like based off of this entire podcast episode we just went through? What other devices like the Steam Deck, the Legion Go, and the ROG Ally X, and other devices? What can the Switch 2 actually look like in reality? Drip?
I mean, we've got these rumors we just went over. Backwards compatibility. Gotta have it.
Yeah.
7-inch display, supposedly. 60-watt charger. A second cooling system, possibly in the dock. That is interesting. We did talk a lot about that. It's coming out this year. We're going to get there in a minute. Different cartridges they're using that are super fast that aren't even on the market yet, which is crazy. That's the craziest part about that. Yeah. Samsung's putting something out, supposedly behind closed doors. There's a whole thing that happened there with them and Samsung. But the biggest thing that's been the biggest thing for a long time, people have been very excited about, is DLSS.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make this thing really the just the awesome thing that it could be if it really works the way that we all hope it does. And now I don't know everything about this. I know the general idea of this. So this is what we got. So supposedly it says that it's going to have NVIDIA DLSS super resolution and ray reconstruction. So
Rudy, translate.
please translate. Tell me what that means. What are those things?
So DLSS is probably one of the coolest things that has been coming out on the market. For those of you that are into AMD, that's kind of like FSR. But DLSS, what it does is it essentially takes an image and super enhances it. So, if, for instance, let's look at the original Switch. It's 720p in terms of its resolution. Imagine that on a 4K screen. It's not really that pretty. But with DLSS, you can upscale that resolution and put it all the way up to 1080, 1440p, or even 4K, and in some instances, all the way up to 8K. It really just depends on the hardware that's there. With this, I could definitely see it going all the way up to 4K, which is super exciting for having that beautiful, living room, sitting on the couch and playing games without, sacrificing too much in terms of like price to performance ratio. It's super awesome, and it's ridiculously exciting. Now, when it comes to ray reconstruction, this is something that is, imagine kind of like having a checkerboarded ray tracing effect that you would get. This is something that I personally don't have too much experience with because I just put everything on ray tracing when I can. But do you guys know what ray tracing is?
Yeah.
I know what it does. I don't know what it is, but I know what it does. It makes.
I know what it looks like.
It makes reflections.
I know it if I see it.
It makes reflections in the game. I know what it. I mean, it makes pretty reflections.
No, that's not it.
No, what does it do?
That's what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks that it makes the reflections pretty.
Yeah.
What it does is that it's actually a calculation that happens on a pixel by pixel basis for the light that's coming in. So the reflections is a part of it because you have light that's coming in and it bounces off and everything that's there. So developers, what they would do before ray tracing is that they would actually paint the light in the games. So whenever you go into a game and there's a light source, like the coding is put there so that, it'll go ahead and come off and it'll hit the character that's there. But that light doesn't naturally bounce off everywhere around you. So if you have light that's coming off from, let's say, for instance, from here on my face, you can see how it's coming on this side of my face. You see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's not there, it's not there. If it's there, the light bounces off. Without ray tracing, this would be all black. With ray tracing, it's on my face. So it's actually a pixel by pixel calculation of how the light is coming in.
That's interesting.
Which makes things look much better.
It's almost like 2D lighting has been the case for a long, long time, and then now we have 3D lighting. Where like
that's nuts.
Like
that's
in
nuts.
layman's
I didn't
terms.
know it was that deep. Because that sounds like learning lighting from like what I learned to do. What I do is my job, like photography. Like that is it. It's like based off of like the source and relative to the subject and this and that and bouncing and controlling light. It's the exact same thing. That's absolutely nuts.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And like the cool thing is that like when you actually have that in a game and it's running well, it makes the experience much more realistic. That's why games like Cyberpunk or like what's another, like Portal RTX or like Half-Life RTX, like those games that like push RTX, it's such a crazy experience. Now, that's full on ray tracing. Ray reconstruction is kind of like a half measure to that, which could still provide a good enough experience, especially when you're talking about Nintendo games and what they're trying to put. I think this will be similar in terms of like an experience to kind of like the PS4 Pro to like a 4K. You know how like the PS4 Pro was like checkerboarded 4K, it wasn't true 4K.
Yeah.
This would be kind of like that, where it'd be kind of like a half measure to what could be really true ray tracing. It's super interesting and super exciting, man. Like it gets me hype for like the next Nintendo Switch in terms of like what we could get, because if the Super Switch has all of that tech in there, it's gonna be awesome, man. Like it's gonna be so freaking good.
As we already said early in the podcast, Drip, we got like there's gonna be more RAM. There's of course this next Switch is gonna have more RAM. It's gonna have a better chipset. It's gonna have more storage, faster storage, which we talked about, which is gonna be really awesome. Games are gonna load much faster, download and transfer speeds and all that good stuff. bigger display. It's, all that stuff the numbers we could guess and speculate all day long. That's not important though. But the ray tracing thing and the reconstruction and the DLSS, that's all really interesting stuff that Switch 2 could have. Let's talk about cost, because we didn't talk about that yet. What is it? What do you guys think a price point that is realistic, and what do you think Nintendo is going to do in actuality? Because I don't know, man. The OLED's already $350. It could be as high as $500, but don't you think that might be too much?
For Nintendo, dude, it's 400. It's got to be 400. It's got to be.
I agree. I think that it's going to be
400.
400 is kind of like the sweet spot. If it's 500, that's going to be like a little bit too much, man. And like that's the thing. So, I look at the stuff that's here, and like this is, again, looking back at Nintendo and the fact that they want to go ahead and make a profit on everything, including their hardware. This is technically worse in terms of specs compared to the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
But with like that ray reconstruction that's happening, like that actually, I just like looked it up just to be sure, because I wanted to make sure that I said what I said was correct. But it actually uses AI graphics in order to like break through all of that stuff. So it's going to help in terms of like the reconstruction of everything. And AMD has something that's similar that they use for like frame rates and whatnot, but I'll talk about that later on. With this, totally doable at 400. I definitely think that they will be able to not only be able to sell it at 400, but be able to profit at 400, which I think is their main point. Is they want to deliver something that's strong enough, but to where they'll be able to make money off of it.
Well, that's exciting to hear. I of course, we know Nintendo's going to want to profit off the hardware, so. My fear was 400 wasn't going to be enough to profit, but I trust you more than me. So I mean, if you're saying they can still profit for 400, then I'm all for it. Like, of course, I want less than that. I'd love free if I could take it, but 400 is a good price point to kind of stay within that realm of the casual gamer or just the younger younger kids. Well, they can actually afford to get it. They can ask their parents, and they're not going to look at them with 15 eyes like, "Are you kidding me? You want an $800 ROG Ally X? Go get a job."
That's the thing, yeah. Because even when you talk about like the PS5 or the Series X at like $500, the people buying that, like, they're not PC gamers, but they're a different level than Nintendo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people, I mean, people who play PS5 can play Switch. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the people who are like, I'm going to get a Switch. Oh, it's $500? Never mind. I'm not getting a Switch. I'm not doing that. That's crazy.
Right.
Like people, who go to a PS5. Oh yeah, it's PS5. Of course, it's $500. It's a completely different thing. It's got to be 400. It's got to be.
Now, what do you guys
go 450? I think it's going to be like,
yeah, 450.
You're really getting scary there.
Release time, because there's some rumors out there right now that this thing could come sooner than we think. There's also some rumors out there that say it could be farther out than we think. There's a guy like Drip who's like, nah, man.
I know when
my birthday. Nintendo's getting me my birthday present. It's happening on my birthday.
It's happening on my birthday. It is. Okay, now.
When's your birthday?
Let's go with that. I'll go ahead and tell you. So I've been saying this for a while now. I honestly, here's what I think. I'm gonna go through this whole thing. I think next month, September, is gonna tell us everything we need to know. I think if we get a direct in September, if we do, we won't see this thing till after Christmas. And then my whole thing's ruined. But if we don't get a direct, I think that is a dead giveaway that we're going to see the announcement of this thing in October. We're going to see what it is. We're going to get the whole whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's going to release on March 10th, Mario Day, my birthday, with a new 3D Mario. Because they didn't care about Mario Day that much, even when the Switch was released. But if you notice, every year, Mario Day, they do more, and they do more, and they do more, and they do more. Up to this year, where they finally put out the new Mario and the new system on Mario Day, March 10th, my birthday. And they send me one for free because it's my birthday and because they love me. And it's going to be a great day. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait.
Rudy, what do you think?
Well, as far as I know, I could be wrong. I don't work for Nintendo. My uncle doesn't work for Nintendo either. I think that's going to happen like April, maybe May, the fiscal year. It's not going to be this fiscal year. I don't think so. I think it's going to be April or May. I do agree with Drip that we're gonna find something out this September. Like, there's always been a Nintendo Direct every single September since Nintendo Directs were like first
clockwork.
inception.
Yes.
Yeah, every single year. So for sure, we're going to get something next month, and we're probably going to learn something. We have to learn something, and if not, we're going to find something out before the end of the year. If I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong because it's been years. The original Switch was first teased 4 months before it was released. Like, it was
October.
December.
It was October.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then,
so
they showed it again in January, I think, and then the release was March. Yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, there you go. So I think that something like that will happen this year, and then we'll be able to kind of like get a little bit more insight and knowledge in terms of what we're going to see. What about you?
I don't really. I am a leaker, as you all know. If you listen to this podcast, I'm a leaker. I leak stuff all the time. I mean, I'm the leaker guy. But I actually don't have anything to leak as far as the date. I have what I want. You know, what I want is a picture that looks like drips. You know, where we see something next month at this point, hopefully soon in September, and it's like, hey, it's a teaser, and then maybe like in October, it's like, all right, this is it, and then in March. Or maybe like in January, February, they're like, here's the date. And then in March, we see it, you know. That's kind of what I want. I honest to God, Rudy, I a lot of people know this on the show, but you don't. I was a Nintendo fan back in the day, of like a lot of us had a Game Boy. But like I removed myself from Nintendo for a very long time until the pandemic when I got my Switch. So like I'm not quite up on the loop as far as like, you know, making good predictions on stuff like this, like what could, you know, the release dates on the Switch too. I just have what I want, and I like what Drip has to say. Yours doesn't make me that upset either. Some people are saying like this is a holiday 2025 thing. I think we all can agree that's a bonehead idea from Nintendo. From a business, like not just what I want and what the fans want, but from a business perspective, that is so damn long that there's no way they can wait till 2025, late 2025.
I mean, they're already throwing fans rations at this point just to like keep them alive, just keep them on the hook. Like here's a port. Here's a remake.
And the numbers are speaking for themselves.
They can't do it for a whole nother year, can they?
No, and the numbers are speaking for themselves as far as console sales. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they're going down finally. They really are going down in a big way now, you know? And it took this long for it to happen, but it is finally happening. And they need to I think it's a good timing if they do it in September. Honestly, now would be better timing, but September might be too long even to just, you have to tell people something, give people something to look forward to, give your investors something to hold on to. Because yes, you did tell us a few months back that it's gonna happen. You're gonna hear some information about it in this fiscal year because they had to tell us. But they have to. They really have that's from a legal standpoint, but from like a business perspective, they have to tell people some information about this console and soon because the business is tanking. Now, I'm not saying Nintendo's going to go bankrupt over this if waiting a couple extra months too long. That's not going to happen. But they're going to hurt their bottom dollar and they're going to hurt the interest if they really wait too much longer to just give us a little nugget of information.
That's all it'll take too.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the thing.
It'll go,
that's all it'll take to get people just so hyped.
Yeah. All these Nintendo YouTubers making their videos right now of how it's down. Nintendo YouTubers.
Show anything. Just show the shape of it. The outside. Just give me an outline of what it looks like so I can make a fucking video on it, please. God bless.
Yeah.
Help me, Nintendo. Throw me a goddamn life jacket, will you? Please.
But yeah. Yeah, okay. That's probably a good point to the ending of that clip, I think. So that was good. That was a good ending on that clip. So yeah, wrapping up this podcast, what else we need to touch on? Do we need to touch on anything else? I think
that's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rudy, do you need to go? Because we'll end the show and you can get going if you need to.
If you want me to, man, I'm.
You're good to go for a little bit longer. A little bit longer.
Yeah, man.
Sweet. So we're gonna wrap this show up, and but Rudy and us are gonna stick around for a little bit longer for our after show. But before we go, Rudy, tell the people where they can find your content.
Oh yeah, man. It's at Baldly Rudy. There's an L between the D and the Y. But yeah, at Baldy Rudy everywhere, like Twitter, Instagram. I even have an Instagram and a TikTok and all that other stuff. But mainly, my main platform's on YouTube. So check me out over there.
Awesome. And you can follow him on Twitter. I do that. That's how we connected. And I'm very happy
Yeah.
we were able to do this tonight. And
Yes, for sure.
Drip, people can find you on
Definitely.
YouTube, right? You go to YouTube, do the thing. Go watch it on YouTube.
YouTube.com/Drip Media Gaming.
The rest
All the
doesn't
other
matter.
ones don't matter because I'm probably not checking it.
And you guys can find me on Twitch pretty much weekly, doing some streams over there. And my YouTube, whenever I decide to resurrect that after a year of dormancy, it'll be whenever I do it, I'm telling you, it'll be a big bang.
No, it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be great. But yeah, Twitch. Find me on Twitch, guys. And
Pikmin
all
4
those
review
links,
coming soon.
all those links are down below, including Rudy. So make sure to guys go follow over there. Our episode sponsor, MobilePad. Make sure to follow or to click their link down below and to buy some of their products because they're awesome and
They
they're
are
really
good.
cool.
They really are. I do love them.
And we're gonna see you guys next week.
Later.